Right, so today working on the wife's Santa Fe CRDI 4-wheel drive Hyundai. I'm going to fit a tow bar to it. So this Witter tow bar is going hopefully on that. What do you say, Josie? Not interested. Okay. So you're going to want to remove the spare wheel from under the car, and to do that on this car you use a tyre iron, and there's a little cover you remove, as you can see there, just on the lip of the boot, and you just wind it down and it lowers down under the car from a cable. Once you've got the wheel out of the way, you're going to want to wind the cable back up to keep it out of the way. Right, so in the instructions it tells you you need to take off the back box, which goes to there and is that on both sides, and this heat shield needs to come off on that one. But we're going to see if we can get away with just unhooking it and letting it drop just enough, hopefully, and that should give us access to the heat shield, which I think needs to be cut as well, so we'll see. That is the fanciest spare wheel thing I've ever had in a car. I like that. So on each of the rear silencers there's two rubber hangers. The forward one is there and the one right at the back is there. So with the rear silencers dropping down by just a few inches, it did give me enough room to get both of the heat shields off from above each of the silencers, as you can see there. So next you have to disconnect the fog lights wiring. This is a right hand drive, so it's the passenger side one you have to remove. After that, this is where things start to get a little bit scary, because you have to remove these pieces of metal from there down to the bottom there, and there's 4 of them. So there's two removed on this one, because there's that up there which you can't really get to easy. I cut the bottom and then we can pull it up so we can get to that easier. So I've just used the grinding wheel just to tidy the edges up. And then I haven't got any black paint, but I have got some metal grey paint. It's not primer, it is actual metal paint. Just sprayed some of that on there just to... So each one of them will go up there and attach. I don't know if you can see it. Nope. Attach up here. Some holes there already, and there's some under there as well. We should say they do recommend taking the exhaust off, but we're going to try and get away with it. We'll soon find out. So you can see that, but basically that won't go home because of that bit of fibre. So we're going to have to try and cut that away. So we'll clear some of the panel bond. It's like a big mound of it, so we can push that bracket far enough up, and I'll just put a bit of sealant back in there where it's just gone through to the metal. So I managed to get the side arms, which is parts B and C in the instructions, all fitted up without taking the rear silencers off. All the bolts were put in, but I didn't tighten them all up, I left them loose, so we've got a bit of play when we put part A in. So now comes the trickiest bit, trying to attach part A, which is the main tow bar, which you can see on the ground. Now you really need a couple of people to do this, but unfortunately I was on my own doing this, so what I thought I would do is use a jack to sort of balance one end of the tow bar while I manoeuvred the other side in. But as you'll see, this didn't really work out, and I actually ended up just sort of manhandling the whole thing in at once on my own. Now, as you'll see from the video, this was quite a struggle, especially where the tow bar actually fits to the side arms. It's quite a snug fit, and the plus side of that is once you actually sort of get it wedged in there, it will kind of hold itself up, or it did in my case, just long enough to sort of get a single nut and bolt very loosely on either side. So there's a lot of fiddling around trying to get the 3 holes on either side of the tow bar to line up with the side arms, and which one works, which you start with, or which works best for you. It's just kind of trial and error. So I did spend quite a long time sort of just jiggling around trying to get the actual holes to line up. Now I suspect if the rear silencers were off, this may have been a bit easier because you could get access a bit more. So once all the bolts were in with the washers and nuts on, then you could go around tightening them up and then get them torqued up. In the description I'll leave a list to what the Witter instructions recommend for torque settings for all the nuts and bolts. So next we have to trim the heat shields that go above the rear silencers. As you can see on the video here, I've marked up the bit that needs to come off. If that bit there just actually fouls part of each of the side arms. the heat shield refitted, but as you can see, that one you've got to kind of push it on, because that still fouls it a bit. So just something to be aware of when you do it. You've got to really push that one on. So now both the heat shields are back in, we want to get the rear silencer back onto its mounts. Now I found the best way to do this is literally just spray some WD-40 into the hole of the rubber mount, which helps it slide onto the hanger bracket. So once the rear silencers were put back on, unfortunately my wife needed to take the car, so I wasn't able to fit the tow ball that day, and unfortunately I didn't get any video footage of the tow ball being fitted. So before you fit the tow ball, you're going to want to fit the neck assembly, which is part J in the instructions. So the neck assembly is attached to the crossbar part A, or the main part of the tow bar, by 4 nuts and bolts. You also use one of these nuts and bolts to attach the electrical plate, which is part number ZE. So the final part is to get the actual tow ball onto the neck. This is pretty straightforward, it's just 2 large bolts, washers and nuts. I'll cover the electrics in an upcoming video.